me to reintroduce myself. I'm just a dying breed, bred with amphetamines.
Well, the interesting thing is you'll have somebody that crushes it, and at the end they don't get selected. And they've been doing this for decades. The Army's been doing it since the 80s. Buds has been doing it technically since the 60s. They kind of formalized their stuff in the mid 90s. Assessment and selection is to get you to pick the right person, not the best person, the right person.
Yep.
And so that way, what you can do what's called BIS, basic interoperability skills, so that you have a Green Beret, a Marine Raider, and a Navy SEAL, and they all have the baseline for what is considered to be a soft operator. And where it differs between those selections is the mission set. So some mission sets are different. For the Navy, for SEALs, it's UDT and GOPLAT. So it's underwater demolitions and it's gas oil platforms. Everybody thinks you're a Navy SEAL and you're a shooter. That's a secondary job. And it's the same with MARSOC. MARSOC's job is irregular warfare. That's 12 different skill sets. Within that, there's unconventional warfare. That is specific to the Green Berets and their 12-man ODA, Operation Detachment Alpha.
That's definitely something that I've always I always made this statement nobody fucking knew what MARSOC did, because everyone had it in their head of what fucking SEALs do and all this shit. Not once have I fucking talked to somebody that was an operator and gotten that side of the house to figure out how they operate, what their fucking day-to-day is, what their fucking mission set is and all that shit. And Green Berets, it was kind of another one of those things where it was there's this fucking stereotypical what the fucking media says kind of thing, all right, this is what these dudes do, this is what fucking SEALs do, but who the fuck are these guys?
Well, so it is, MARSOC is a microcosm of the Marine Corps. So when you look at the different departments, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, they all have specific jobs pertaining to the national strategy. Air Force, obviously. Space Force, Army.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Space Force, Army, and Navy, and Marine Corps. And the Marine Corps, if you look at it, the Marine Corps is a microcosm of the other branches. It has a limited amount of air power, sea power, and infantry, or ground warfare. So it takes Army, Navy, Air Force, and it combines it into a small, sleek force that is highly mobile, expeditionary force and readiness.
The fucking shock troops.
Yeah, and so what you can do is you can basically equate the same situation. You have USASOC, NASPEC WARCOM, which is the Navy, and USASOC's Army, and AFSOC is Air Force. There's no one for Space Force yet. No Space Force.
Yeah, no Space Force yet.
It's a critical, Space Force and Cyber Command. It's a critical area. Do you need a guy that can go out and do the things that a Ranger, a Green Beret, a SEAL, or a Raider can do? Probably not. But it's very important.
All I know is when they fucking open up the MOS for Doorship Gunner, fucking Starship Door Gunner, I will be first in line. Or ODSTs. Fucking Marines dropping in a fucking pod from space. I will duct tape myself back together for that shit.
So the infancy of MARSOC came from Unit 1, which was in Iraq. And it was basically a 45-man unit that attached to the NASPEC WARCOM Navy SEAL group and some ODAs that were out there. And they used them as a plug-and-play. Can they jump? Some can. Can they shoot? They all can. Can they conduct reconnaissance? That's bread and butter of the Marine Corps. So what they wound up doing is making a mimic, a microcosm of the Marine Corps for MARSOC. So in the Army, you have jump teams. The ODAs, you have jump teams. They're free fall teams, like Halo teams. That is their bread and butter for their insert method. Navy SEALs have dive capability straight out the gate. You go to a Marine Special Operations company, and it depends where they are going with what capabilities they need. So you'll have a wide smattering of jump team, mobility team, mountain team, and it varies between companies. There could be a mountain team in one battalion, and there could be 3 in another one. and they change depending on the mission. That's the one thing is flexibility, and it's
Now, I would imagine changing on what our fucking front is too.
Yeah, no, I mean,
like on our geographical location of warfare.
Yeah,
that's gonna change.
and even how warfare is waged. There's subterranean now, like fighting in tunnels, massive tunnels, and that's like who takes that? And I mean, you look, everything's broken down into niches, and the Rangers. When guys are like, I want to be a door kicker, I want to go just shoot people. I tell them, go to the 75th Ranger Regiment, go to RASP, which is the Ranger Assessment and Selection Program. And you can go there as a private because it's set up as a light infantry company. They have fire teams, they have machine gunners, they have forward observers. It's huge, and there's a lot of people there, and they need guys for different things. But at the end of the day, they are a direct action force. Their job is to go and secure airfields. That was their bread and butter. But if you're gonna send somebody to go kick some fucking door in and shoot somebody, you're not gonna send just a 14-man team. Now, what MARSOC and USAC do is they take teams that are tailored, that go in and build up a local force, and then they use them as like surrogates, kind of. The Navy SEALs to a certain extent too, but Navy SEALs are 18-man team. USAC for Green Berets, it's 12-man team. MARSOC, that's 14-man team. Rangers send nothing smaller than a platoon. It's a platoon or a company that goes into secure area, and that's a lot of dudes with a lot of firepower. So there are when they say door kicker, that's 75th Rangers. I'm not going to speak about JSOC at all. JSOC's above that, and that's basically if you were to take all the military, take the best of the best, you make SOCOM, and out of the best, you make JSOC, and they handle special stuff, and we'll leave it at that because like
they handle stuff that we don't talk about.
Mm-hmm. They do, and they're
they prevent wars before they start, kind of.
I would say the Green Berets mostly do that because they focus on unconventional warfare and foreign internal defense. Where a lot of people are like, what's the difference between the things and the different units? The biggest thing is your entitlements, authorities, and responsibilities. So your entitlements come based off U.S. code. So in the U.S. military, for Marines, for Army, for Navy, that's Title 10, that's the defense part of it. And then you're looking at Title 10, and then Title 32 is Air National Guard and Army National Guard. So those are your entitlements. When you're looking at responsibilities, that's, do you have the responsibility to that? Would you send an Air Force security force squadron to go attack an enemy fixed position? That's not in their wheelhouse. That's Army, that's Marine Corps, that's some select members of the Navy. Within those titles of U.S. Code, you have chapters. The chapters are very specific on different things that happen. And so it goes code and chapter. That gives you your entitlements, and the chapter gives you the authority to do that. And everybody has entitlements and authorities. The Department of Energy, the Department of Justice, the Central Intelligence Agency, all these different robust organizations are tied to the U.S. Code and basically under the authority of the Constitution. So people are like, what's so special about the Marine Corps? Well, because of the War Powers Act in 1979, that limit, because we didn't want to get into another Vietnam, they said we need to create a unit that can conduct operations like this without sending tens of thousands of guys somewhere. And so there were two different ideas to that. There was the Marine Corps, and there was what they called special operations. Now, in 1979, they had Eagle Claw, where they went to go rescue some guys at the Iranian embassy, and it was an Army special operations unit, and it was the best of the best. Well, then you had SOCOM that could go anywhere in the world under the authority of the president, and you had the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps can go anywhere in the world for 90 days, and Congress can't do shit about it because it falls under the purview of the president. So you can send, for 3 months, you can send the Marine Corps somewhere. And it goes
like
along
from presidential level, without Congress's approval, we can just fucking go.
Correct.
I do remember that now. I don't know. I don't know why that was a key factor of my life that I forgot.
And in 1980, it was called the Goldwater-Nichols Act. Again, all this stuff is on Wikipedia. Goldwater-Nichols Act said, hey, because these departments were so compartmented, information wasn't getting shared, we had multiple planes crash, it killed a lot of guys, we are going to create a special unit. So they created special operations. Well, the Marine Corps is like, we don't want anything to do with that. We're going to just say we're special operations capable, the Muse.
Yeah.
And so they had a lot of things that wound up, the Marine Corps basically wound up saying, hey, we can help you do this. We can provide a foothold. We can help you with your operations. Because one of the soft truths, besides humans are more important than hardware, the fifth one was added not too long ago. It says, soft needs non-soft support. You need conventional forces to use special operations.
Yep.
And you can't just send these teams down there with no backbone or logistics. Looking at you, Russia. So when MARSOC came into it as Unit 1 in Iraq, they were designated for direct action and special reconnaissance. And they worked really good. And it was a 45-man team. It was the best of the best that they had from Force Recon and Recon and Anglico and some other units they had thrown together. Well, most of those guys are retired now. There's like a couple of pictures at the schoolhouse of these guys, and it's like 60 plus dudes and 45 of them were shooters. So Donald Rumsfeld says, Marine Corps, put your stuff together and make a team. So the Marine Corps was like, okay, well, that was Iraq. It was one thing. It was one mission set. How do we crack this nut? And so they wound up working throughout SOCOM and basically put together an idea of what SOCOM wanted, which is a flexible kind of jack of all trades, master of nothing.
I've been waiting to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Why you've been saying this the whole
Mm-hmm.
time. Jack of all trades, master of nothing.
Mm-hmm. So you'll get an MSOT that has certain capabilities that they can do. And one thing MARSOC had a real bad problem with when they first started off, and I'm not talking shit, but when they started off is they started saying, hey, we're going to do direct action. No, you're not. That's the mission of these guys. Okay, we're going to do Jtac. No, that's CCTs, that's AFSOC. All right, we're going to do unconventional warfare. I'm like, absolutely not.
That's berets.
That's the Green Berets. You know, you have 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 10th, 19th, 20th. And sorry to beat you to the punch. And it really unnerves people if you're a new guy, you show up and you say, I'm going to do that. And it's like, you are not, one, you're not qualified. Two, you don't have the entitlements and authorities to do that. So what MARSOC winds up as an IW force, they'll go to a certain location and they can do foreign internal defense, they can do security force assistance, they can help facilitate, it's not their primary, help facilitate unconventional warfare. That means by facilitating, you are helping the guys that their primary job is to do it. It's like security for bases. You have PMO, right?
Yep.
You ever see the guy that didn't have the badge that had the M4? The grunt that just got put on it? Yeah. So it's a similar thing.
I got through the gate many times on dudes that I knew from my unit that were working PMO, and I'd be out at the bars, fucking bar hop until 2 a.m. and then go fucking drink coffee at Waffle House till 5 a.m. And then I'd come in the back gate, you know, the fucking hidden gate where the fucking shit's on the opposite side.
Yeah.
One of my boys, R.I.P. Nolan, he's gone, but he was working gate guard. And like I knew when he worked, and I would like come through, shoot the shit with him for a little bit. I don't want to go to my bed.
Yeah. So there's a big misconception when they're like, oh, he's a Marine Raider, this is what he does. There's literally under IW, the regular warfare, you have unconventional warfare, foreign internal defense, you have security force assistance, counter narcotics, counter proliferation, counter terrorism. There's 11 of them, 11 that I remember. Also had quite a few head injuries, but there's a wide smattering. It's
More TBIs.
It's a wide smattering of different acronyms, and those lead to, again, entitlements and authorities.
Yeah.
So when guys are like saying, I'm doing counterterrorism, it's like, no, you're not. Are you in the area of responsibility, and are you attached, or are you working with a group, a task force, special operations task force, which is a smattering of special operations units? And if somebody has a mission set, your job is to support them. Similar to how the Marine Corps is, everybody supports one guy, the infantryman. It doesn't matter what you do.
It's all structured around.
And it's the same thing with special operations. If somebody has a mission set, you're going to go help them out. You can do your own little things, like you can send out teams to go do joint training and maintain rapport and relations. Because I can tell you one thing that is devastating is a massive loss of rapport because you have somebody that's not qualified to be in a certain area. And one of those ones was the Australians got in trouble with Indonesia because they were at a shoot house and the Indonesians were going through and they saw something that was kind of, they call it haram. It was against their religious beliefs. And it fucked their military relations up between Australia and Indonesia off of one silly thing. That Marine that killed that transgender lady in the southern Philippines, I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah.
Happened on a Mew, and it shut down a lot of stuff for the Marine Corps. It was Balagatan is one of the things they do down there, and it's a organized training event that is the U.S. and the Filipinos and sometimes some other nations, but it happens regularly, kind of like in Australia we have Talisman Sabre, and that's the U.S. and the Australians working together.
Yeah.
Sometimes the Kiwis too, and because this guy killed a local national, it caused a lot of problems and it broke
Fucking international incident.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can send these guys to different areas, but they have to be not the best guys, the right guys. And there's a lot of coordination that happens. And the U.S. military, like I was saying, is the most powerful entity on earth when it comes to warfare. Our government is just as capable when it comes to interagency stuff. So you have like the Department of Justice. There were FBI agents on one of the islands we were on because it involved terrorism linked to the United States.
Yeah.
And then you have the Department of Justice also sent some guys to help people down in RC South in southern Afghanistan stand up the Afghan, basically their court system. Like how did evidence work? How did court cases work? And so you have a hodgepodge of different people coming and going through this thing. So it's interagency. So it's not just the Department of Defense. It's multiple ones. You have U.S. Now the military kind of draws a line at where military actions stop and then other things occur. Yeah, like USAID, it's for the advancement of democracy. And they're throughout the world, and their job is to basically help with the infrastructure behind it. Not just like how to build something, but how to get a program in place that enables them to do that. It's like, can I give a man a fish or can I teach the man how to fish? If I teach the man how to fish, what goes along with that? The procurement of fishing rods, the procurement of ships to go out and fish, logistical structure that's in place that helps educate people on how to fish, teaching fishing, and then you go into like, well, now where does fish go? It sets up markets. So the U.S. is in the business of preventing wars. Having people are like, the U.S. is here, everything's gonna go to shit. No, the priority for the United States is that sovereign nations are just that, and if you have what's no longer called a stable, steady state, it leads to conflict. So you look at Somalia, you look at Afghanistan, you look at a lot of these states that are unstable, they cause conflict all over the world, and the U.S. doesn't want that. Military is like one of the last things that goes in there. We try through diplomacy, you can set up Peace Corps, there's a myriad of things that happen before you start sending in shooters.
Yeah.
But
our like the world perception of us on the fucking world stage was like, when I was in fucking Norway and like Netherlands and like this shit these fucking people would talk about us because like they think of us as like world police. I've heard that fucking term so many times like when I was on deployment, and like I feel like a big reason for that, this is completely off fucking tangent with that, but I feel like a big reason for the reason that all these other countries view us that way instead of like we try everything else first. Mm-hmm. Social fucking media is a huge fucking reason for that. It's like the shit that like we post and like our own fucking people here internally. I'm not trying to get political here at all, but like our own people here internally that like post shit all the time. Oh, I'm gonna renounce my citizenship. Fucking Billy Joe Armstrong, fuck you, and like all that shit.
You're a British idiot now.
Yeah, he can go over there. But it's like all these fucking idiots that keep doing that shit, keep bad mouthing us on the world stage, set that precedent for all the other and then obviously like our past, and our past being completely misskewed. as like we're fucking invaders and like do this shit, like the whole fucking Iraq war, the whole like Afghanistan, all this shit.
There is a kernel of truth to some of that, and I will tell you this: if you look at the world from antiquity, Greek through the Middle Ages, Genghis Khan, humans are prone to conflict, and massive conflict that occurred in the 1930s and 40s, and basically World War I and World War II. Sorry, early 1900s. You're looking at these massive conflicts like the United States Civil War. Well, that was going on in the Southern Hemisphere. You had the War of the Triple Alliance. You had Paraguay fighting Uruguay, Argentina, and Brazil, and it killed off 90% of the male population down there, put them back in almost a Stone Age. The United States said, hey, if we can project our power all over the world and keep this from happening again. It's similar to what happened with the Romans. The Romans had what was called the Pax Romana. It was about 600 years, and it literally translates to the Roman peace. The U.S. has had, since the end of World War II through the Cold War, there hasn't been a major military war that's occurred. Major, and I mean major. You had like the Congolese Civil War where 8 million
We've had conflicts,
yeah, but nothing at a global scale.
Not global scale warfare, which, I mean, Iraq, maybe you can consider that because of all the coalition forces that were involved in that.
Within the confines of that, we're not looking at millions of casualties across multiple continents.
Yes. You're looking at one small fucking area with multiple coalition forces.
The thing that burns me up is fucking Europeans. Like, you went out and colonized the world, butchered hundreds of millions of people in the name of ideologies and religions, colonized and basically raped and pillaged the land.
Yep.
Like, the Dutch Shell Company basically had Nigeria commit genocide against itself. Nobody ever fucking talks about that. Nobody talks about how the Europeans kept coming over and over and over. You look at Napoleon III. Mexico was already a country and the French tried to take it over. You look at all these things that happened throughout world history. Guns, Germs, and Steel, really good book. It's kind of long, read up on it. Europeans, when they say stuff like that, I'm like, the reason you are spending less than 2% on your GDP for NATO is because you're the little midget walking around with a hammer. We're the ones standing behind you. The only reason Russia hasn't gone anywhere else is because the US backs NATO. If you remove the U.S. from NATO, they lose 80% of their fighting power. And you're talking about logistics, you're talking about C2, the command and control, you're talking about actual armed forces. They don't really have much in the way to project their own power. Like, if you take all the aircraft carriers in Europe, it's less than like 7 or 8. Like, Italy has 2.
Damn.
Italy has 2. Japan, China, I think, just launched their second one. The United States has 10 times that. Like, it's ridiculous. We have some that are in mothballed shape. We have battleships that are in mothballed shape, but every so often you have to revamp those things. And it's, again, U.S. code saying the USS North Carolina, here in Wilmington. Yeah, it's for tours and stuff like that. They have an X amount of time that they have to pull that thing out and have it battle ready.
I don't think they can pull it out anymore. So everything I've extensively kind of looked up on it, going down rabbit holes sometimes. The way that it's positioned in there,
You would have to tear up.
you would have to, that bridge
Yeah.
has to go.
So
Bridge, like the fucking bridges right there, the drawbridge, the Wilmington drawbridge, that has to go because you can't get the battleship out of that area.
If it came to us,
They kind of built it around it.
If it came to us pulling mothballed equipment, which
And
is,
having to use
which
it,
is
then we would.
World War III, they would tear that bridge down and make sure it got out. The thing is, the U.S. has massive stockpiles of everything, similar to Russia, but our stuff is in better shape.
I was involved in a part of that, which, I mean, I had my secret clearance is still good, but it wasn't really a secret because we broadcasted it and we wanted Russia to know, so it's not really a secret. But like cold response, that was all about us going to Norway, pulling the fucking vehicles, like the tanks, the tracks, RD equipment, all this shit out of these fucking caves. It's been in place there since the 50s because that was a strategic point during World War II that Germany used. And all those ports and everything else, like we've been heavily invested in that area for the past, like since 2016, since 2015. And that's not including ball tops and all that shit too. fucking, like, we went up there, pulled those vehicles out, operated with them to show that we can go there, get them operational in 3 days, and go to fucking work.
Yeah.
And we wanted Russia to see that shit. They were following us the whole fucking time.
It's projection. A lot of it's projection, and the Russians are a paper tiger. The Chinese. I'll tell you one reason why China will never have a major war. Their one-child policy. In China, they had their one-child policy for so long that families rely on the male heir, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that one man that means everything to him. Now he's in the military. Yeah, they have 200 million whatever.
Yeah. That one, but what happens
But
when that
he
one
gets killed,
fucking dude
yeah,
dies?
he gets killed. You think you had a problem in Vietnam with us wanting our soldiers to come home? You imagine what would happen to the entire Chinese populace if you lost, say, 5,000 guys. That's 5,000 families. That's 10,000 people that are not getting their single son back. And there also is no drive for it. They want to take Taiwan, or they want to project their influence. There's the ring of necklaces and the ring of diamonds, and it's India and China, and they're having their little spats. At the end of the day, China's a paper tiger too, because they socially, at the social level, cannot handle taking casualties. Russians can do it. But the Russian army, again, is so corrupt.
It's corrupt, and it's not fucking trained right. It's not trained up to modern day spec.
You and our commanders, when you were going through with all that equipment, you didn't sell any of it.
No.
You wind up at the brig. And in Russia, that's commonplace. A commander will take his units and he will send them to go do manual labor in areas in Russia. It's basically a form of enslavement. At the lowest level, they would sell off military equipment, body armor, explosive reactive armor, tires. The tires that are failing in Ukraine right now are knockoff Chinese tires that they wound up buying for cheap and selling their military wares. So they were lining their pockets from the general level to the military unit commanders. You're talking strategic, operational, tactical, down to the guy that's walking around in some podunk town in Russia trying to make money because he gets paid $30 a month equivalency. They do that, and it's wild because here in the U.S. we take care of our military. Like the government has the VA, and we have all our qualms with what's going on with homeless vets and stuff like that. It's 10 times better than anywhere else in the world, and for the size of our military is the reason why Europeans can talk shit. And I fucking love it because right now they're seeing the consequences of saying, we're just going to rely on the U.S., we'll rely on them for military. That's why you have bases in France, you have bases in England, you have bases all over.
Munich.
Yeah, if you took every U.S. military installation, there was a guy that does mapping on Instagram. If you took every U.S. military installation and you combined it into a single landmass, it would be the size of Germany. That is insane. You're including naval bases, air bases, outlying fields. Yes, it is massive. People talk a lot of shit because they don't see what happens outside. People are like, the U.S., if we go to fight a war with Russia, we're going to get our ass kicked. A country that is way less developed with less leadership and less technology and has the heart to fight is over there doing that right now. China went toe to toe with the U.S., it would lose. If Russia went toe to toe with the U.S., it would lose. If NATO went toe to toe with the U.S., we take nukes out of the equation, it would be a hard fight, but the U.S. would win. And I'm not a totalitarian when I say the U.S. is number one. We're number one because we have consistently kept a presence and we've consistently funded our military. But
it's no longer back in the days of literally when we started World War II, like when we were so massively outgunned and massively out fucking advanced, like everyone was more advanced than we were, and we took lessons from that and we fucking ran.
Exactly.
We fucking sprinted of everybody.
In order to keep the world peaceful, ensuring these sovereign states have their own, everything is civil. There's no conflicts going on. Now it's, people are like, well, do you think this is World War III? I was like, hey man, like in 1932 to 1936, there was military conflicts occurring between the Spanish Civil War. You're looking at the Germans. They're annexing Austria, Czechoslovakia. The Russians are fighting amongst themselves. They're invading Finland. That was all before 1940. And so when we look at it, is this World War III? I think that you can't really say it is, but if we look back, this is the beginning of it. So
Yeah, it could be.
Want to talk about food?
All right, yeah. Let's. We're gonna. I'm definitely gonna have you back because there's so much to fucking talk about.
I definitely know.
So he also runs a Instagram page, a connoisseur of food. So go ahead and tell us about that. Now, tell us about. So I mean, you're still in.
Yeah.
And you're on the Army side now.
And so I wound up doing a little contracting, Army National Guard, and then my friends that I made throughout the way, whether they were civilian or military, I would cook, and they would be like, dude, you have to put this on Instagram. Some of my buddies were like, you have to write a book about all the dumb shit you've done, and I was like, maybe when I'm older. But they're like, you got to post this stuff so that people can see what you're making, because anywhere I went in the world, I would pick up wherever I was at, whether it was Guam, Thailand, Philippines, Korea, Japan, Germany, all of the European Union I visited before I was 15, from Norway to Poland to Slovenia to Sicily, South Africa. You just see so much of the world, and like there's very little stuff you can do to here in the United States when it comes to seeing the world unless you fly there. No. You can bring things back, and one of the coolest things is creating your own dishes and cooking your own food, and you can show that everything that you've eaten that is so tasty and so delicious, you can make that here in the US. You just got to go to some markets and stores. Yeah. But it's called K-Bar Cooking, and it's essentially 99% of it is just all these different dishes. One time I got half a goat, and it's sitting in my apartment on 4th and Red Cross, and I'm like, okay, this is right after Hurricane Florence, and it's like, all right, I'll make some Moroccan stews. I'll make this, I'll make that. I'll do ceviche. Everywhere I went in the world, you know, you do the thing where you go out and you drink and you party with the locals, you build rapport, but finding these dishes like Thai dishes that are super spicy, or some of these dishes are just flat out weird. They're weird because in America, our diet's very strict. It's an American diet. Yeah. Some stuff we eat is abnormal.
Fucking goddamn double cheeseburgers from McDonald's, I tell you. Or chicken sandwiches.
Yeah.
You know, it's very... I have issues every fucking day of figuring out like what I'm gonna eat for dinner and like what I'm gonna fucking eat throughout the day, so my diet's very poor.
Well, one thing that I noticed is that if you are able to buy your own food and cook it yourself, you're not restricted to what is readily available within your economic sphere. And it changes based upon where you live. If you're from a less fortunate area, you're kind of stuck between biking and walking distance to procure food. If you wind up going to like a Saigon market or an Oriental market, or you go to a Central and South American carniceria, I think that's what it's called, you walk in there, and if you're the only white guy, that's a good thing, because you can find stuff that otherwise is not going to be at Food Lion or Publix or Kroger, and you can get all this stuff, and all it takes is a quick hit up YouTube or hit up a web page and look up something. But I remember eating all this amazing food, and I was like, I wish I could eat, like there's larb, which is a northern Thai salad. It's very acidic and sour, but it's served cold and it's spicy, and there's no bread or carbs involved. It's on a bed of lettuce, and I was like, I could fucking make this in the US. And so I came back and I was like, I just looked up the ingredients, or there would be like a hot pot or yakiniku, Japanese cooking, or you know, bibimbap, which is Korean. You can create, it's almost like art. You can create it and then fucking eat it. It's delicious.
Fucking delicious. Yeah. So I will tag his Instagram handle in the description of the video. That's about gonna do it for this episode. I'm definitely gonna have you fucking back on again. We got more to talk about.
Oh yeah.
So I'll be posting this in a few days from now, as soon as I get it all edited and put together. But dude, it's a fucking pleasure. That was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Till next time, guys. Fucking tactfully misguided out.
Save yourself. and pray to God he'll give them hell to